Good afternoon, Carmel, and welcome to CHTV. I'm Mason Crum.
And I'm Morgan Ludwig. On today's show, you'll hear about tomorrow's ISSMA State Finals, the possible closings of 2 local elementary schools, our recent kickball fundraiser, and on the Kentucky Derby.
You'll also hear from Vivian about controversy over a prom dress, Will and Drew's NBA playoffs, Marissa and McLean over a cartoon that made it to Broadway, and an 11-year-old boy's dream becoming a reality.
It's going to be a great show. Thank you for tuning in. Let's roll the intro. In Carmel news, the Carmel High School Ambassadors will be competing tomorrow at the ISSMA State Finals at Pike High School. The Ambassadors perform at 3:06 in the afternoon, and the award ceremony will be at 7:45. The Ambassadors' performance will be judged on various categories, including diction, rhythm, blend, tone, and quality. Carmel High School student Adrian Larco, a sophomore and first-year ambassador, will be competing at the state finals tomorrow. He stated that, quote, "We're going into this as 5th in the state, however, I feel like we should come in at around 3rd or so. It's good to hear that Adrian is optimistic about their performance tomorrow. Make sure to wish him and all of the other ambassadors good luck on their competition." Mason?
Yes, Morgan, good luck to all of our ambassadors, especially the ones sacrificing their prom for this competition. In more Carmel news, the previous Wednesday and Thursday, Carmel parents and teachers proclaimed their frustration and confusion on possible school closures in the community. Carmel Elementary and Orchard Park Elementary are at risk of shutting down due to slightly decreasing enrollment and needed renovations. Carmel Clay Schools is looking into the future, studying population trends and costs, and building disclosures are possible. The school district's acting co-superintendent told parents the 7 elementary schools on the east side of the district, including Carmel and Orchard Park, have about 700 empty seats, and in the 4 west side schools, there's only about 100 openings. Many families are concerned by the threat these elementary schools face and what it could mean for the Carmel Clay community. Carmel and Orchard Park are also the district's 2 oldest schools and are next in line for major renovations, although that does not necessarily mean that it makes them more likely for closure. The superintendent of Carmel Clay Schools said that there's no defined timeline for making a decision about the possible disclosures. Still, some parents are worried. The next opportunity for community members to speak out on their opinions of the possible occurrence is this upcoming Monday at Carmel Middle School at 6:30 in the evening. Now, Morgan, even though you weren't an attendant of either of the schools, what do you think of these possible closings?
Well, in my opinion, I feel like the closings would be a little bit unnecessary because I feel like if they were to close them, it'd cause some drama because the parents wouldn't want to, there'd be problems with them trying to enroll their students in the 2 schools. So I feel like if they just left it how it was, it'd probably end up better than it actually is.
I couldn't agree more. Now over to Vivian with more news.
That sounds interesting, Mason. I sure hope Carmel Clay Schools can get the situation handled during the community meeting on Monday. And now moving on to your CHTV News update. With prom coming up tomorrow, many students at CHS are anticipating dressing up, taking pictures, and having fun at one of the biggest nights of the year. One of the most exciting parts of prom is dressing up and finding the perfect dress or tux. However, 18-year-old senior Keziah Dom from Woods Cross High School in Utah has sparked national discussion and controversy over her prom dress. 2 weekends ago, Dom chose to wear a traditional Chinese red dress to her prom and posted the pictures on Twitter. In response, many people accused her of cultural appropriation and were angered at the fact that she chose to wear a Chinese dress even though she is not of Chinese descent. One of the first people to respond to her tweet was 20-year-old student Jeremy Lamb at the University of Utah. Lamb tweeted out, quote, "My culture is not your prom dress," end quote, which sparked more people to voice their opinions on Dom's dress. While some are calling her actions thoughtless, many are jumping to Keziah's defense, stating that people are being overly sensitive about the topic. In fact, Keziah herself stood up for her own decision and tweeted out, quote, "To everyone causing so much negativity, I mean no disrespect to the Chinese culture. I'm simply showing my appreciation," end quote. And that's all for your news segment of today's newscast. Back to you at the host desk, Morgan.
Thanks, Vivian. In local sports news, 2 days ago, over 150 employees from 8 local companies came together to compete in the 4th annual Playworks Indiana Kickball Tournament. The tournament consisted of teams between 10 and 15 people, all working towards 2 things: the championship trophy and the chance to raise money for Indiana schools. Altogether, the company teams played for around 6 hours and raised over $15,000 for local schools. Playworks Indiana hopes to use the money to bring safe and healthy activities to over 5,000 children in low-income schools across Indiana. Visit www.playworks.org/Indiana to learn more about the event. Now over to Will and Drew at the sports desk.
Thanks, Morgan. The first round of the NBA playoffs is over and the second round is underway. Some matchups I am very excited about start with Houston versus Utah. Houston has been the best team in the league from the start, finishing the season with the best record in the NBA and beating a very talented Timberwolves team in 5 games in the first round. They are currently playing the Jazz in the second round and the series is tied 1-1. The Jazz have been very good defensively this series and look very good right now so far, but I think the Rockets are going to prove too much for them in the end. Another series I can't wait for is the Warriors versus the Pelicans. Anthony Davis is playing the best basketball of his career right now, and the Pelicans are playing great team basketball. The Warriors got 2-time MVP Steph Curry back 2 nights ago from an ongoing ankle injury, and it was like he was never hurt, scoring 28 points in 22 minutes with 5 triples and leading the Warriors to a 2-0 series lead. They travel to New Orleans tonight for Game 3. Drew, how do you feel about the Game 3?
Well, I think you're right about Steph making a big impact when coming back. I think it'll be a close game, but I do think that the Warriors will be able to stick it out with the win and go up 3-0. I mean, I think that'll be a close game because the Pelicans are at home and they're fans. But I do think with Steph being back, it's almost unfair still, and they will go up 3-0. So now in more local news, the Carmel boys and girls track team are competing in a county meet tonight. It is one of their biggest meets of the year and will really put the runners to a test. CHTV members Morgan Ludwig and Ted Paya took a closer look into the life of a runner with star hurdler Brandon Teeter.
My name is Sam Chenoweth, and I am the director of The Little Mermaid.
Joel Embiid has played very well throughout the playoffs, but he's kind of struggled throughout these last 2 games, going down 2-0 to the Boston Celtics. How do you think he'll play throughout this series, and do you think the 76ers will come back?
Well, yeah, so I think that Joel Embiid is a great player, like you said. I do think he will become more fitted for this series and will end up coming back. And I do think the 76ers come back and win the series just because, or at least I think they will and I hope they will because of them being able to beat the Cavaliers, which I would way rather have than the Celtics.
Yep, I completely agree. And now back to Mason at the host desk.
Drew and Will. Well, Morgan, tomorrow marks the first Saturday in May. Do you know what that means?
I can't say I do. What's happening?
It's the 2018 Kentucky Derby. This will be the 144th annual run for the Roses at Churchill Downs. This is the famous horse race that is commonly known for the most exciting 2 minutes in sports. This race will involve 20 horses racing and competing for the grand prize of $2 million. In the last year Kentucky Derby, there was an opportunity given to the horses over in Japan for a possible entry for the race. This year, that same opportunity was provided for European horses as well. The Derby is the first Triple Crown race of the year and will be followed by the Preakness Stakes on May 19th and the Belmont Stakes on June 9th. For those who cannot make it to the race, NBC will provide TV coverage from 2:30 to 7:30 p.m. Now over to Marissa and McLean with our entertainment news.
Thanks, Mason. I'm Marissa Ryan with my co-anchor McLean Wood to inform you of your entertainment update. Boy, do we have some unique news for you today.
We sure do, Marissa. I think everyone has heard of the Nickelodeon TV show SpongeBob SquarePants, but did you know it was turned into a Broadway musical?
That's unbelievable. I never was a fan of SpongeBob, and I can't believe it's going to be on Broadway.
The Broadway show is now nominated for 12 Tony Awards. The cartoon was not the only fan favorite at the Tonys, with the Broadway production of Mean Girls tied for 12 nominations. While these 2 productions take the lead, 30 productions are up for prizes of the Tony Awards. This year's awards will take place on June 10th at the Radio City Music Hall, as well as broadcasted on CBS.
That sure will be a ceremony to see. Maybe we will have a few future Broadway singers here at CHS with Our production of The Little Mermaid in the works. CHTV's Evan Smoker talked to the cast to get their insight on the show. Let's take a look.
My name is Sam Chenoweth, and I am the director of The Little Mermaid.
I'm Sydney Green, and I'll be playing Ariel in The Little Mermaid.
We chose this show specifically because Carmel hasn't done what I would call a kids show in a while.
It's like very fun and unique because in the past, like we did Phantom of the Opera last year, which is completely different from the show, which is actually like a Disney show.
We wanted something that the whole family could come to and enjoy, and also something classic. One of the things that we're doing differently in the show is in the Broadway version, a lot of the performers were on Heelys, if you know what those are. We kind of took it up a notch, and everyone's on different kinds of wheels.
A few of us that are mermaids, we wear Heelys, and some of the other characters, they actually use hoverboards, so that's really cool. Like Scuttle the bird uses a hoverboard, and as well as King Triton.
So Ariel's on Heelys, but Flotsam and Jetsam are on rollerblades, and Flounder's on a ripstick, and we use 3 different hoverboards in the show.
In addition to that, we also have people flying. So I'm flying in the show, as well as Ben Heber, who plays Prince Eric.
She's actually 6 feet off the ground the whole show, so figuring out how that works. We've got some cool things that are going to happen out in the audience. We're not limiting ourselves to the stage for the show, we're using the whole room as the performance space.
I was nervous at first, but I'm actually just really excited now. The show's coming together, and we're about 3 or 4 weeks out from the show. So right now we're just getting all the final aspects together, and really it's more exciting now.
We're trying to do things differently, so we hope that you show up with what you think of Little Mermaid in your head and then leave with kind of a new vision.
In more news of rising stars, 11-year-old Mason Ramsey, also known as Yodeling Boy, signed a record deal with Atlantic Records and Nashville-based Big Loud.
Ramsey sure has a future ahead of him.
Absolutely. In fact, his first debut song, Famous, was released Friday, and as of Monday received a whopping 2.13 million streams on Spotify.
He sure has made a name of himself, as that is the most streamed country song globally and on Spotify.
As we said, this week's entertainment news sure is unique.
And that's all we have for your entertainment update today. Now back to Mason and Morgan at the host desk.
Thanks, McLean and Marissa. Don't forget to follow CHTV's Twitter page and subscribe to CHTV Carmel Television for more content. This has been Mason Crum.
And Morgan Ludwig signing off. Have a great weekend, Greyhounds.
Okay.